Behold, DDR lessons. We will use this ability to repeatedly stealth by teabagging the Guitar Hero waves every so often as we fight. This will give us permanent stealth and allow us to fight in the shadows, while still having epic zone control abilities, our massive disco party combo. This is Lockdown Nocturne Octavia, and I am going to explain to you exactly what is going on with this build. Basically, the idea is that although there are several buffs you can get from this Guitar Hero-esque ability, you can get the Vivace buff by jumping in time, you can get the Opera buff by shooting in time, and you can get the Forte buff by melee attacking in time. Those actions are all more difficult to do than getting the Nocturne buff, which you get by crouching in time. If you crouch on these waves, you can easily get Nocturne buff stealth in just 2 rounds, which is very, very fast, and you can refresh that buff during the duration by performing the action again. Due to this, you can stay stealth for over a minute with only a single cast of your 3, which is insane. I have built Octavia for power duration. Octavia is very powerful. I do not recommend that you rush to put Forma into her, because she is quite more than adequate without it. You don't really even need this Intensify or this Streamline. You can stick to maxing out the duration, giving yourself a bit of energy regen, rebolstering your power range, and giving yourself just a little bit of health I think is safe. It is alright to leave it off as well. With just that, you will have insane area control due to Octavia's base range and her abilities being very high, and you will be able to stealth permanently and terrorize your foes. Let us show the terrorizing. To begin our reign of terror over these enemies, we will enter the battlefield, activate R3, and perform some crouching DDR actions. This will stealth us and prepare us for the fights to come. We can then pepper the enemy with Zarr cannonballs and prepare to set up our combo, dropping R4 and R1. R4 will magnify our damage by a large amount when we stay in its area based on how much noise is happening in that area. As you can see, we have a 260% damage increase, allowing us to do nuclear levels of damage to the enemies below. Absolutely devastating. Great. And while we are performing that epic amount of damage, our Rollerball and Mallet combo will be terrorizing the rest of the battlefield, distracting enemies, and falling off the map. You're going to have to recast that every so often, and you're also going to have to continue to perform your DDR every so often as well, to make sure that you stay stealthed. You should do it once when you first cast the ability, once again about halfway through the ability's duration to keep you stealthed for the whole duration, and then a third time right before it ends so that your stealth extends an extra 30 seconds after that. You will only need to recast this ability once every minute and a half, and you will stay stealthed all the time as long as you don't fail at DDR really hard. You can then proceed to continue terrorizing your enemies with your Hirudo, with stealth damage added, with lots of ground finishers as well due to the Zarr knockdowns and your on-demand blast procs from the Vaykor Marelok. As well, your Helminth Charger that I have added into the fray will pull enemies down for you and allow you to finish them off with your Hirudo as well. This combination will allow you to fight adequately even when you are not in stealth, but makes you virtually invincible and a force of terror when you are. With this glorious breakdancing weapon, you will be able to devastate your foes in seconds, and look like a total badass doing it. A massive rave party awaits Steno. The Zarr, the Vaykor Marelok, the Hirudo, and Nessie, my Helminth Charger. Oh, my beloved Nessie. We will talk about Nessie first. The reason we have a Helminth Charger in this loadout is because due to the fact that we're focusing on zone control, and Octavia is so much weaker if you have to repeatedly change locations, we know that we're probably not going to want to use this loadout in situations where we're moving around a lot. And if we're not moving around a lot, it's not as hard to pick up loot manually. We don't have to worry about missing things as we go by them over and over again. Loot will be concentrated around our defense objectives. So, it's less of a disadvantage to not have a vacuum, and more powerful to have a Kubro or a Kavat. They do excellent damage, but their AI pathing is not so great, and they don't help you vacuum up their loot. But, using a defense objective mitigates these weaknesses. Here's my basic Helminth Charger build. Most of you probably don't have Form on yours, and neither do I, so I would recommend that you run something like this. Definitely get in that Link Health, Maul, and Bite for base stuff, and Animal Instinct is always very helpful. Proboscis and Trample are both excellent precepts. This one will allow it to mow down a group of enemies, dealing a lot more damage than 160, And Proboscis is a pull. It's basically an ancient grapple. This is really strong because it opens enemies up for ground finishers from your Hirudo, giving you tons of healing. And while you're doing that, you'll be healing your pet, thanks to Pack Leader. The Hirudo itself is, very simple. It's basically just your standard body count and blood rush weapon. This just also heals you for a lot when you hit dudes. The Vaykor Marelok build is also very simple. I have added Zero Forma to this weapon because it is already extremely powerful with just the 4 dual stat mods and multi-shot. It has a 100% status chance before multi-shot, which means that all 2 or 3 of the bullets spawned whenever you shoot will always inflict a status each, giving you rather reliable blast damage and decent armor stripping as well, on top of very consistent damage. Finally, the Zarr. Oh, the Zarr. I have a ribbon for the Zarr, which gives me more flight speed, making my bombs and shrapnel blast more accurate because they go further and quicker. On top of that, we've just added a basic critical build. Heavy caliber is really no problem on this weapon, definitely run it here, and I've decided to go for primed cryo rounds. But your mileage may vary. If you want to add corrosive, that's just fine too. Raining chaos over your foes is as easy as beginning your DDR sequence, and then engaging your enemies. If you suck at DDR, you should make a song that makes you better at it, which I will talk about now, because as you can see, I was not so great with that one. This is an example song that I've created to demonstrate the mechanics of the metronome ability. So, as you can see, my basic pattern for the metronome melody is 1 single note, 1 single note, 1 single note, then a rest, and then a chord, and then 3 rests. This pattern yields the markings that you saw before. So we have 3 single notes, and then a space, and then a chord, and then a bigger space. And as you can see, there are 3 light rings, 1 heavy ring, and then a big gap. There's a small gap between the light rings and the heavy rings. This is a good pattern for me because I feel like I can hit the heavy ring if I don't have time to crouch a lot, and I can spam crouch to get 3 light rings to rack it up really quick if I want to. If my timing is really good, I can hit all of them and then I'll be able to stealth really fast. This is just what I like. Unfortunately, this means that you should probably build your Manticore song more for usability than for the actual sound, but I'll leave that one up to you. If you can find a good mix. It occurred to me that Sandstorm by Darude, which is going around the community right now, would be a pretty good song for this because it's got a rhythm that lets you crouch repeatedly, quickly get that stealth buff up fast. It is very fun once you get used to it. You will be able to stealth on command and terrorize your foes. If you do not want your abilities to affect a mobile area and you want them to be stationary, don't spawn your 2 because it will always pick up your mallet and run around. Instead, just use your 1 and your 4. To create an area of massive AoE damage. Massive AoE damage. Make sure that you continue dancing to repeatedly refresh your Nocturne buff, and otherwise you should be just fine. Enjoy your massive breakdance party all over the enemy ranks. I hope that you enjoyed this Octavia lockdown Nocturne build, and that you have fun playing with the Helminth Charger and some of the stuff from Update 20. More videos on Update 20 stuff are to come. They put out way too much at once, and I wanted to cover this first because I think it's really cool. And yeah, enjoy lagging out a little bit because Octavia's abilities are not very well optimized. See you next time!